Okay, shalom everybody. We're going to talk in this video about maror. Maror is a little different than matzah, the way the mitzvah exists nowadays. And because it's different, there's actually a very big question on something we do when we eat the maror. And we're going to discuss that question, and we're going to discuss the answer that you find in the Talmud to that question. So, as you hopefully saw on the source sheet, there's a pasuk that talks about eating the Korban Pesach. Now, if you think about it, the Korban Pesach, after they offered it on the Mizbeach, so they took a certain part of it and they ate it themselves, and it was basically steak. It was steak from a lamb, and the pasuk says to eat the Korban Pesach with matzah and with maror. Al matzot umrorim yochlu. There's actually two opinions in the Talmud whether it means to eat them all on one dish, like each one separately, but you're eating it together like in a meal, like on a dish, or to actually eat it as a sandwich. Two opinions, but that's what the pasuk says, to eat the Korban Pesach together with matzah and maror. Now, when there is no Beit HaMikdash and no Korban Pesach, like nowadays, so all we have in the Chumash is a pasuk telling me to eat matzah by itself. You saw the pasuk be'erev tochlu matzot. There's a pasuk that talks about matzah independent of the Korban Pesach. So nowadays, that's the only mitzvah from the Chumash, and there's nothing in the Chumash itself that would tell me to eat maror nowadays. So what happened was that after the destruction of the second Beit HaMikdash, where if there's no Korban Pesach, the Chumash, the Psukim, the written Torah tells us no mitzvah to eat maror, but the rabbis went ahead and they legislated. They made a new halacha, a law, to eat maror at the Seder, even without the Korban Pesach, so that nowadays in our Sidarim, in our Seders, we also have the mitzvah to eat maror from the rabbis. A mitzvah such as this, where it's not from the psukim in the written Torah, but it's from the legislation of the rabbis, is called a din d'Rabbanan. So we have a din d'Rabbanan at our Seders to eat maror. There's a din in our Seders from the written Torah, from the Psukim, from the Chumash, to eat matzah, but maror is only d'Rabbanan. And if you see this picture, there's two types of maror. This is like horseradish, which tastes bitter. This is lettuce, which you've all probably had lettuce. Lettuce is not bitter. And just to give you a little bit of a coming attraction, please God, if we have time, we hopefully will have time to discuss why eating lettuce is considered a mitzvah of maror if it's not bitter, it doesn't taste bitter, and yet many people eat that as maror. Like I said, coming attraction. So we're going to go on. Hey, what's going on here? What's that? That's the lobster from the video from the other day. What's he doing here? He's trying to eat the matzah. Lobster, get out of here. Go away. Go away. Okay, sorry about that. So, nowadays, before we do the mitzvah of eating maror, we make a bracha. Before many mitzvot, we make a bracha before the mitzvah. And when we make the bracha, we say, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu al achilat maror. Blessed are you, Hashem, King of the world, who made us holy with his mitzvot and commanded us to eat maror. So when we make this bracha, we are blessing Hashem. And we're saying, Hashem, blessed are you who commanded us to eat maror. Now if you'd like, pause right here and think, what is the question that needs to be asked about this bracha? Again, in the bracha, we are blessing Hashem for commanding us to eat maror. It's a bracha we're making nowadays. What's the question that needs to be asked? So after looking at the bracha, right, the question is, wait a second, Hashem didn't command us to eat maror, it was the rabbis. We're saying a bracha, blessed you Hashem, who commanded us to eat maror, but nowadays it's the rabbis, right? And the rabbis they do have the authority, right? They're a legislative body, just like the Supreme Court makes laws. The rabbis, in the days of the Mishnah, made laws. And, that's very valid. But why are we blessing Hashem for giving us that mitzvah to eat maror nowadays? There's a very similar question when making a bracha on lighting Hanukkah candles, when making a bracha and reading the Megillah. These are also two mitzvot that do not come from psukim in the Chumash. These are two mitzvot that come also from the legislation of the rabbis. By the Megillah, we make a bracha. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al mikra Megillah. Blessed are you, Hashem. And we end it by saying, and you commanded us to read the Megillah, and by lighting the Chanukah candles, similar. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Chanukah. Blessed are you, Hashem. And then it ends off, who commanded us, that you, Hashem, commanded us to light Hanukkah candles. Here also, why are we blessing Hashem for giving us these mitzvot, for commanding us to do these mitzvot? Hashem didn't command us, the rabbis commanded us. So this was a question raised many, many years ago, around 17 or 1800 years ago in the days of the Talmud, and this is the answer that was given. So the answer has to do with the pasuk that's written in the Torah that's the word of Hashem. And in the Torah it says, in Sefer Dvarim, Perek Yud Zayin, Lo tasur min hadavar asher yagidu lecha yaminu smol. This is a commandment from Hashem's Torah. Do not stray from the matter, from the words that they tell you. They tell you, it's talking in Dvarim Perek Yud Zayin about the rabbis. So do not stray from the matter they tell you to the right or to the left. So in other words, in this pasuk, in Sefer Devarim Perek Yud Zayin, Hashem is commanding us to listen to the legislation, to the lawmaking of the rabbis. And the idea here is that following the rabbis' commands is like following Hashem's commands. So if, when I'm listening to the rabbis, I'm following Hashem, who tells me to listen to the rabbis, so then it makes sense to say, blessed are you, Hashem, who commands us to eat maror. Again, if Hashem tells us to listen to the rabbis, anything the rabbis tell us is also in a way coming from Hashem. And it's also a commandment of Hashem. So it does make sense to say the words that we say in the bracha of maror. That's the answer given in the Talmud. Now, to help you understand this answer in the Talmud to the question, let me give you a metaphor. A metaphor is a story that's similar to a subject you're talking about, and when you talk about the metaphor, it helps you understand the original subject. So I'll give you a metaphor that has to do with Beth Tfilah that'll help you understand this idea of why the bracha makes sense and why it makes sense to say, blessed are you Hashem, who commands us to listen to the rabbis and to eat maror. So let's say that one Friday at an assembly, Dr. Shor comes in and Dr. Shor tells everybody, students, kavod for the administration and kavod for the teachers is something very, very important. And Dr. Shor says, I want you to understand that everything that an administrator or anything that a teacher tells you to do, you should listen to them. You should have kavod for them, and you should listen to them. And then one day next week, the week after, let's say on a Tuesday, one of your teachers tells the whole class, listen class, tomorrow on Wednesday, I want everyone to wear their blue Beth Tfilah uniform shirts in honor of the State of Israel. So in such a situation, a student who listens to the teacher, the student is not only listening to the teacher, but Dr. Shor said to listen to the teacher. So if you listen to the teacher, you're also listening to Dr. Shor. The commandment of the teacher is really also the commandment of Dr. Shor. And so too, when the Torah in Sefer Dvarim says, Lo tasur min hadavar sheyagidu lecha yaminu smol, when the Torah has those words, and the Torah of Hashem says, listen to the words of the rabbis, so anything the rabbis are telling you to do, Hashem is also telling you to do, and therefore it makes sense to make a bracha, blessed are you Hashem, who tells us, who commands us to eat maror.